Holy fever dreams. This is Flight Check, Season 5, Episode 9. We're back once again, coughing through all aspects of FlyQuest, LTA, and First Stand from yesterday, going on this whole week. My name, as always, is Sandy Coughs. To my left and my extra left are my fellow hosts Noxwar and Curly Double Q. I am battling some chest congestion for the last few days, so I'll be frequently attempting to mute in time so that you guys don't get impacted by my horrific cough. But First Stand kicked off today. Team Liquid took down K-Corp in a 2-1, and HLE dispatched Top Esports in a 2-0 pretty cleanly from what I could tell. Some other big stuff from over the weekend. NACL Open qualifiers continued on. We had 2 teams qualify. Some controversy around one of them near airport. We'll get into that a little bit. And some other bad news around NACL. Polestar getting its funding pulled from the investors. We'll chat about that tonight as well.
Very shady. Very
shady.
shady.
Some shady stuff. In better news, FlyQuest Red Valorant with a qualification for the Swiss stage that is coming up. I didn't realize that the Game Changers format was changing again, so I had to go and educate myself on what's going on there now. But let's get our first thoughts on First Stand. Nox and Curly, whoever wants to take it first. Initial impressions on this HUD that everybody collectively seems to be trashing. I saw some screenshots, because I'm trying to not make myself sicker. I did not wake up at 4 a.m. To watch
the
games.
And very valid.
But I saw some screenshots from the HUD, and I had seen them do like some previews of it actually, but then I guess on broadcast, it was way worse than people thought it was going to be. And I remember seeing it and being like, I don't love this, but maybe I'll get used to it. Then I saw some screenshots. I was like, this is actually kind of rough. Like, what were y'all's thoughts on the HUD? Obviously not loved across the board by folks.
I like the idea of what they're going for. The execution currently, not good, but the general concept of what they are trying to do is something I've wanted them to work on for a long time. Is they're trying to make a very clear presentation of like the center of the action and make sure that they're kind of like actually getting into it. Because you see it in like live sports is that you're really able to kind of get into the action and not much is in the way. So
right.
The direction they're going is good. This is clearly the alpha, maybe even beta. And so there's still some things to work out. I personally feel like the health bars are just very redundant because you can still see them above the champs. So if you turned it off the champs for whatever reason and just had nameplates and had the health bars there, then there's a justifiable reason for it. But let's be honest. I don't think we really want to do that because I feel like it would actually maybe graphically make it harder because I don't know if you can remove health bars for one.
Yeah.
But even if you can, that means now it's just text kind of overlaying a bunch of characters, and I don't think it's going to stand out well and all that stuff. And again, the health bar in the bottom, it takes up too much space. So keep it only above the champions and figure out how to utilize that space better. Yeah. And also, I see that it shifted a couple times. I can't tell what was going through the broadcast idea of when they were making some of these shifts.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd have to sit through a whole match to try to get the beat on that, but some of the shifting just felt kind of wonky, jarring, and the secondary versions definitely a lot rougher. But again, the general idea of it, I am a fan of.
Yeah.
And then people who like Sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought, please.
People who like player cams, though, you're kind of getting, shafted by this one. Like, it's just boop in the corner.
Yeah. No, I liked your comparison to traditional sports. In traditional sports, they're called score bugs. I don't know why.
Yep.
Bugs. But I just pulled up like a old screenshot of some older like football score bugs, because I think a lot of the time they do it like really well. Actually, I'm just gonna grab this and I'm gonna put it on stream really quick because I think it's a good example. But the in the way that like they tell you all the all the information you need to know without it being obnoxious, right? And obviously in like football, there's way less information that you need to know at the drop of a hat, right? Like all you need to know is the score, time remaining, what quarter it is, what teams
where
are
they
playing. Are. Yeah, like what, is it 2nd and 10? Things like that. But they're able to pack a lot of information into a very small thing. Obviously, League is different. There's so much information that people rightly do want to know. Like, they want to know the runes. They want to know the items. KDAs, I guess. They want to know CS. We've got dragons and kills and towers and now grubs and Atacons to keep track of. But yeah, I just feel like this kind of missed the mark. Nox, what were your takes on the First Stand HUD?
Yeah, I mean, everything you guys have said has been kind of what I had. The only thing I'll probably add to that is just I'm not a fan of the current like designs or the I guess I don't want to eye candy, so to speak. Like for instance, like the icons for like Dragon and Baron and Otacon. Like I know now, like, hey, I need to look in the top right corner, but for major objectives in the game, they're not very eye-catching. I was hoping to like see something that would really like, bam, hey, these are things you should pay attention to because they're very important for the teams and they're very important for the state of the game. And so for them to be just these tiny little icons where, I mean, I can tell the Drakes because the color. But like Otacon and Baron and even Rift Herald are very hard for me to tell the difference between at the size that they're at. I'm also not overly familiar with the color usages of like Otacon currently, just because I mean it only just came out this year, and it's also a color. I mean I know I can tell that it's white now that I'm looking at it right now, but like if I'm watching this at 4 a.m. or watching it on my TV, which is further away than I'm normally watching it from, like on a computer screen, it's a little hard for me to differentiate which two is which. So it's stuff like the eye candy, the things that like really draw your attention to look at something are not very good, and I think the designs could be improved or the color usages could be improved to help like really draw your eyes and get your attention to them. The other big thing I'm not a fan of is like the constant rotation of like the top left corner where it's like the feats of strength, the objectives taken. I would rather really just have that on screen permanently so I can just check it whenever I want. I don't want to have to like wait for something to rotate around. Same thing for the gold values down bottom or like the EXP differences down bottom. Like I just want access to everything all at once. And I get that it takes up a lot of real estate on the screen, but I'm kind of okay with having less real estate on screen just so I can actually see everything. I don't like a lot of the times like I don't watch this game so I can see everything happening at once. That's why you have a different HUD overlay whenever a team fight breaks out. Everything goes away and you just have, hey, here are the characters, here are their ultimates, here are their summoners, and that's it, right? Like, that's perfect. That's all I want to see. Everything else, when nothing else is happening, I want to be looking at stats at all point in time. I want to understand power levels. I want to understand the strengths of certain champions at certain times, so on and so forth. And right now it's just I don't have access to that when I want to see it. So that's kind of my big thing is like the rotation of stuff and the ability to like catch your attention on certain things in terms of like icons and color usage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Much like an Oscar-winning picture from a couple years ago, Nox wants to see everything everywhere all at once.
Absolutely. Top 3 movie in my movies I've ever seen.
I love it. My wife hates it. It is a bone of contention.
Why?
You'll have to get her.
Is it the hot dog fingers?
No,
it's the hot dog fingers.
There's an explanation. I'll leave it to her. I
Fair
did
enough.
grab that HUD picture, and it's kind of comical
Nice.
because it reminds me of kind of the league HUD a little bit at times, where there's so much information and all you get is a little
That is a
square of what's
lot.
going on. But like this is comparing the different broadcasts and how you can fit so much of it, so many of them on the screen itself. But like on the right side, that is the Fox, or I think that is the current Fox score bug. And there you go: score, time, down, timeouts, play clock. And then if they've got other stats they want to show, they do a quick little blip, and then it disappears again, right? And so like I agree with you, Curly, in the sense that like I think it works really well for traditional sports to do something like this, where it's like very minimized and whatnot, and not all the information is accessible all the time. Because theoretically, right, if you go on watch.llesports.com and you're watching the game, you can scroll down out of the video and get all of the live excuse me, there's that cough, live game information that you want. You can see exactly what order each player skilled up their abilities.
Yeah.
You can see their exact rune page. You can see exactly what they bought, when they bought, all these things. So the information actually, like, a lot of that stuff is accessible. Now, I get it. If you're on mobile, you can't see that stuff. Sorry. Here's the deal. If I'm on mobile, right? Here's my phone, right? If I'm on mobile, I can't see that stuff anyway, right? I'm almost 30 years old. I'm not like zooming in to be like, oh, okay. Oh yeah, Ruler bought a BF sword. Oh, okay, got it. Cool. Especially when there's like 500 new item icons, every season, right? And I can't be bothered to learn all these item names. Like, I just have to take the caster's word for it that they bought the, what is it, Sky Tunnel or something? Sundered,
Something.
yeah, the Sundered Spear. Or
Not to throw you
Sundered
under the bus,
Sky?
Sandy, but you're sounding very boomer right now.
Look, if
Oh
I'm an
my.
old man,
Tiny icon on my phone.
if I'm an old man shaking his fist at the cloud, then then so be it. But
Back
like,
in my day,
if you're
Imperial
on-
Mandate was
but-
just a flag with a fist.
But legitimately, if you're on mobile, like, you can basically see those numbers, and like that's kind of it. Like, you can see the kills, you
Yeah.
can see towers, you can barely see icons, and if you like know what icons for things are, then great, you're in luck. But like sometimes you just like can't see the stuff if you're on mobile. So
Yeah.
deal with it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, then the other thing you have to think is live viewership, right? Is in those arenas, it's hard to actually utilize those big screens to their full advantage when you're like shoving so much information on it. I actually, I want to say a while back, kind of talked with someone on Twitter one day for about kind of how bad it was in live, and it's like something you kind of got to think about is the casual viewer, or like making the most universally palatable presentation for viewership.
Yeah.
And so like one of the big appeals that a lot of T Sports has is the fact that you can just put it on the TV and you can do pretty much anything in your entire living room and you'll be fine with it.
Yeah.
And that level of viewability is not something that we have in esports in general.
No, you kind of
but
have
particularly
to
in
constantly
LoL.
be watching.
Yeah. Well, not only do you have to constantly be watching, but it's like you have to really focus to be able to get past all the noise
Right.
of the thing. And so for the people like Nox who do really care about that and who might like have a lot more knowledge of things like that and want to look into it, there's other accessible ways. Like you said, lolesports.com. I also know that the LTA Seoul has provided us as a whole region with kind of a Twitch tie-in, if I remember correctly, where it's like you can get more information there. And if Riot really wanted to, Sandy, by the way, you kind of closed out our cameras.
Oh, that's crazy. I don't know how that happened.
But a long-term development that Riot could really look into is actually making their mobile app more boisterous, I guess, for stuff like this,
Yeah.
where it's like there is a LOL esports page, but it's just a quick way to get to the streams and see who's uh, ahead in series and all that stuff. It's not really going to get you information on that. So like build that up, and so you have a companion app to go with what's going on screen, so that anyone who really does care can easily do it.
No, I think that's a good point. Knox, any final takes on the HUD? Is there anything that they could do to, like, obviously turning around a fix, between today's action and tomorrow is a tall ask. But is there anything that they could do, like, quickly to kind of remedy some of the issues, do you think?
I think, yeah, there's probably prioritizations that they can focus on. Like, hey, I mean, health bars, for instance, are not something that need to be like highly prioritized, since you can see the health bars on screen at any point in time.
Right.
Or I guess whenever like you're looking at the champion on the map itself. So that's kind of redundant, in which case I think you can replace a lot of that stuff with like actual proper gold difference or like XP difference or whatever like kind of stuff you do want to see down in that area. So something like that I think could be like used throughout the remainder of the tournament and would probably be beneficial in regards to filling in that information. Outside of that though, that's probably the only fix like in a short term. Long term, I really think you just got to start utilizing your real estate better in terms of like screen usage and where you can put information and stuff that needs to be actually provided to the viewer, so that way they understand like power levels and strengths and like timings and understanding of when things happen and how they happen and so on and so forth. So I don't think that's something that's really able to be fixed in the course of this tournament, because it's only a 7-day tournament. But I know this is something that they want to start like dishing out towards the domestic leagues, in which case I do think the potential of this is it's there. Like you can have a really really sleek looking UI and HUD looking screen, but it's not there right now. So hopefully they can figure out how to properly utilize all the information to spots without overcrowding the screen.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. All right, let's move forward towards the actual matches. So obviously, the big thing of the day. The match that went completely the opposite way of what everybody expected. Hanwha Life beat Top Esports. I mean, this one real quick. This one pretty clean, seemingly so. Top. They weren't like the surprise win, right, in LPL, right? But they weren't like a necessarily like supposed to be that top 3 contender in the league, right? Like you had Anyone's Legend, JDG, BLG kind of up there. So not surprising to see Hanwha Life do so well, 29 minutes and 31.5 minutes respectively. Peanut going crazy on the Nidalee in game 2. I saw Captain Flowers was really hating on the Nidalee after the match. To you guys, just very briefly, and then we'll get on to what everyone cares about, which is TL versus KC. Hanwha Life putting this beat down on top, does it give any window of hope, perhaps, for Team Liquid to maybe pull out a game, perhaps 2, against Top Esports themselves?
Oh boy.
I think it's possible. The big qualms I had with Top in this series, I would say, is Kanavi especially. Kanavi, from what I saw, really just continued to try and send it, and there was times where he was rewarded for it, and there were some times where he was heavily punished for it. And evidently, as you saw, HLE managed to like just turn the coin around onto tails multiple times in a row, and it resulted in like 5-0 aces. And HLE at that point, you give them a lead that big, obviously they're just going to run away with it, right? But in the early game, I thought both early games in both games were extremely close, in which case it wasn't until Kanavi tried to flip something or they really tried to push a fight way harder than they needed to, and it just HLE flipped it on him, and then that was that, because you cannot come back once you're down that much against HLE. So in regards to Top Esports, I feel like it's kind of the same. I think if Team Liquid can really make it a point to just like hold off this aggression or even flip around this aggression onto top esports, I absolutely see it being a winnable series. Now, does that mean I favor Team Liquid? No, but like I actually kind of gave me a little bit of hope that they could do it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair take. Curly, how about you? Because
I
I
mean,
believe they play tomorrow. Yes, yeah,
Yes, they do.
I think you're right. Yeah. Well,
yes.
I
7
mean, if
a.m.
they play like they did today, they'll be able to pull it off. They actually really kind of showed up against uh, KC, and so same thing for top esports as they inevitably got smashed by Hanwha Life. So it's going to be, can we put them in the corner and keep them there? Is what we're going to have to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think HLE to me clearly by this result establishes themselves as the absolute favorite for this tournament. I think everyone else is going to have a tough task taking them down. All right, let's move forward to Team Liquid K Corp. Bit of an interesting one. So, Team Liquid really crushing game one. K Corp really crushed game two. And then Team Liquid really crushed game three. Uh, there's a few things here that I think stand out to me. One is in the wins, Jan's performance was crazy. He really showed up, I think. Yeah, I just really styled on Kalist, in my opinion. The Gnar game 3 was not my favorite. I also hated the Yumi coming out from K Corp. There's like some obviously. I think the thing that I'm realizing about Fearless is that it doesn't really get interesting until you hit like game 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Like I was going back and watching some of the LCK and LPL playoffs, and they're pulling out like Zac Jungle in game 4 and 5. Because they're like having to go so deep in the draft pools. But curious from you guys, Knox, from you, impressions on TL from this. I mean, they kind of went with some of the classic picks. APA with the Trist, pulled out the Talia as well, the Asol. Impact, the Ornn and Cassante, things that you would expect. And, Core JJ with some classic picks, even pulling out the Pantheon support, which didn't do so hot, but it was there. So, like, they're extending, out of their, traditional pools. But, yeah, initial takes on Team Liquid's 2-1 over K Corp.
What's there to really say outside? I think Yike did not look good. Like I know that's not TL related, but
No,
Yike
for
did
sure.
not look
I mean,
good.
it's all first stand, right? So
Yeah, so
Yeah.
in my opinion, that has a lot to do with it. I think Umti had a massive, massive game in game 3, partially because Yike just kind of made some really poor decisions, and it was kind of handed to Umti on a silver platter. Like it was one of those games where it's like, oh wow, Umti like gapped Yike so hard, and it's like, I really don't want to give that much credit to Umti, if I'm being honest. Like he did what he was supposed to do, and he farmed up. He got extremely far ahead level wise. He was 4 levels up on Yike at one point. But like I don't think he really did anything all that insane, in my opinion. Like there was a lot of praise going in his way, and I was just like, I mean, he did okay. I'm happy that he performed, but let's kind of keep it realistic here. It was Yike like having an absolute disaster of a day.
yeah,
Outside of that, I think the other big note is I think game 2 really, I'm very much more a fan of Team Liquid's comp over KC's comp in game 2. I think what ended up happening was that top lane skirmish where they went like 4 for 1 or whatever it was, just completely just screwed TL's chances of having anything done. It set like Yeon was like far too like he was even, so to speak, with Callista at that current point in time, but like the rest of the game accelerated so fast that it's like Ash is just never going to be able to deal the damage that's needed to be done, and Acel got set so far behind. And I think, normally, Curly, you know how you hate seeing Bwipo Urgot? I think
Yeah.
I'm going to officially put a ban request out on Impact's Mbessa. It is not his champion, man. I don't think TL likes playing around it all that well. I don't think
Word.
I don't think Impact looks all that great on it. I think this is a champ that just kind of needs to go to the wayside for TL, which sucks because I mean it's a very prominent pick right now in the meta, but he's just not that great on it. Even in like the LTA playoffs, like he won with it, but I don't think he looked good on it. So yeah, I think all that said, Yike bad, Umti okay, no more Impact Mbessa.
Yeah.
We'll be very curious to see how they perform versus top esports tonight.
Yeah, definitely no more Impact Mbessa. Let's not do that again. Yeah, Curly, how about you? Takes on Team Liquid's 2-1 over KC.
Well, I mean, I think that the biggest thing is obviously today we saw what happens when you send France to the international stage. Is they throw up their white flag and they just lie down and take it, unless they get it handed to them like in game 2. But no, in all reality, I'm begrudgingly more impressed with Team Liquid than I would like to be. Admittedly, coming into this, I was I was ready to
Curly
betray NA for the whole tournament. I still kind of am. I'm very HLE favored, and the whole thing I've wanted this entire time is that they're gonna win. Love Zeka, love Zeus, so like, when they win, it's gonna be great. I'm not gonna be sad. But TL has really actually showed up. And kept it going from what happened at LTA finals. And I'm really happy that they didn't just fall off once they went international, because it's really lackluster. And it's actually been one of my biggest frustrations of NA as a whole, is where the teams that we send then just kind of flounder internationally. So like we got one down. If we can get, got to keep it up against the Oysters. And then the big thing is if we can take off up top tomorrow, I'll consider that a very impressive run for us. And just very good in general, because it's like I said, it was a long-term frustration, and I finally feel like we are kind of climbing the ranks over these last 2 years to overcome EU for one, because we got to talk about what's happening. Is ever since they went to the 3-split system, and I'm not saying that it's why, but that is a benchmark of when this happened, they've like deteriorated, and even though we always are like, oh man, NA's kind of rough right now, the scene's kind of rough right now, keep outperforming them. So like if we're rough, they are like, I don't even know how to describe it. What's rougher than rough?
So two fun facts really quick. One, EU first seed has not beaten North American first seed since 2019 Fnatic versus Cloud9.
6 years.
Yeah.
Fnatic? You let your last win be Fnatic?
Back in 2019. And second fun fact is, so clinching scenarios, if Team Liquid managed to beat Top tonight and CFO beat KC tonight, Team Liquid's automatically locked into playoffs no matter what.
What? Wait, can you say that again? Can you say that again?
So if Team Liquid managed to beat Top Esports tonight,
okay.
And then CFO managed to beat KC tonight,
yes,
Team Liquid are automatically locked into playoffs no matter what.
That's crazy.
Word. That's good. I mean, short tournament.
Well,
okay, yeah. I just I'm hear me out.
Hearing you.
If CFO, even if TL does not beat Top, right? If CFO beats K Corp, that drops K Corp to 0-2. I don't see K Corp beating Hanwha Life or Top Esports.
Oh yeah, it's not completely confirmed if we lose to Top or if TL lose to Top, but like it's like if CFO beats KC, it's pretty much done.
God,
like,
wouldn't that be absolutely?
That'd be
crazy.
Insane.
Wouldn't that
be insane?
Wild?
Oh my god.
Blue Wall who? Oh man.
Like, are you telling me that the only way if that happens, I want to see the world of what happens if G2 is the one here. It's like, do they at least take a game? Is it really that even if G2 isn't the team in Europe, they're the team? Are they the only team that can do anything internationally anymore?
That's crazy.
They kind of need to look inward and find out what's going on.
Well, okay, can I digress there on that point for 1 second?
Absolutely.
People talk about regularly, like Travis Gafford brings this up a lot, that North America for years had like a big problem with just rotating players in and out. You know, like the guy gets a split, he doesn't show up, bench him, bring in the next guy. We kind of stopped doing that recently. Like obviously TL and Fly brought back the same roster for the second year in a row. TL has basically had the same roster for 3 years, right? Like 2.5, because they brought in APA halfway through 23, if I'm correct.
They brought him in like literally the week before playoffs of 2023.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. So, you know, like, but that would have been like mid to late summer. So, like, we're looking at, and now it's March of 25. So we're looking at like 2.5 years for the same Team Liquid team. We're probably looking at like a year and a half for the same FlyQuest team. A lot of these teams, like, I feel like North American managers are starting to see a little bit of the benefit of maintaining a core and, you know, just getting like 1 or 2 pieces in.
Absolutely.
EU has not learned this lesson. Every year, if you pay attention to EU free agency, it is crazy. Entire teams get gutted. Like, they are having Bud Light aces regularly. And this happens, like, the free agency movements, or just like the benching and the bringing in a new guy, it's crazy over there. There's no time to build synergy. There's no time to build a reliable core. G2 was the only team that was doing it for a while because they had Broken Blade and Caps, but then they started kind of doing it too, where, okay, they had Yaiken for a year, now they've got Skumund. Then, you know, I think they even had Targamas for a second, right?
They did.
For a hot second. Now both Yike and Targamas are on K-Corp at first stand, by the way. Yeah, I wonder how that one worked out for him.
Very satisfying as a G2 hater, by the way.
Yeah, very satisfying as a G2 hater.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, you know, Fnatic has this problem. You know, the other teams have this problem. Like, Vitality even, like, had this whole thing about how they were going to stick with a particular roster going into, like, they were like, oh, we're bringing in this roster at the end of the year, and then we're going to, you know, we know we're not doing so hot, but we're going to bring them back, you know, for the start of next year, and it's a long-term project. That has not panned out at all. They just benched Hylissang to bring in Niski at support. Like, these moves are all over the place, and that is why, in my opinion, because they've got this, like, you know, infinite talent pool in the regional leagues, right?
The ERLs, yeah.
The ERLs. But, like, first of all, the players there aren't getting enough time to develop. They're just, like, the LEC managers are just grabbing the hot new mid laner who just won EMEA Masters and slamming him on a team without any real thought as to, like, oh, well, will this have synergy? And that's why EU hasn't done anything for half a decade now.
Preach.
So,
yep.
You know, NA greater than EU.
Yeah. So give us your third slot.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. I think that's enough first stand talk. Let's talk NACL Open qualifiers. Because some fascinating stuff. Nox, I assume you are very tuned into this. I am also fairly tuned in to the details. But do you mind giving people kind of a bit of a rundown on some of the near airport drama and stuff while I blow my nose because I can feel the congestion?
No, you're good. You're good. No, the big thing that everyone's kind of talking about right now is so near airport, which for those of you somehow not in the loop, is Double Lift's team consisting of TF Blade, Spica, Pobelter / Jensen filling in for whenever Pobelter was abroad, Double Lift, and Biofrost. And so the NACL Open Qualifiers was happening over the past 2 weekends, in which case it is a massive 64 team tournament. They were seeded as the first team because it was just kind of based off of solo queue rating. In which case, as of yesterday, they officially qualified to the NACL via a best of 5 versus a team called Friendly Fellas, who honestly kind of a cool little team of like upcoming players and whatnot. So I would have been really cool to see him make it in, but that's kind of besides the point for the time being until I get through on this next point, in which case Double Lift came out saying, we just don't know if we want to play in NACL. We just don't maybe have the time for it. Biofrost is currently going to college right now. TF Blade still wants to mainly focus on streaming. Double Lift himself said, hey man, like if I get into like the competitiveness like mindset again, like I'm gonna start putting up way too much time into this, and I don't think that's where my life's at right now. Like he wants to start spending more time with Lena and less time focused on like League of Legends and stuff. Obviously, he's still gonna be a streamer and whatnot, but he's like, I just don't know if I want to put that much time into it. And so the problem with this is basically you just took away a spot from like players who actually may deserve to be in the league, and it becomes extremely awkward for A, Riot to figure out how to fill the slot if you don't actually want to play, and B, like why would you just take away the opportunity from someone else playing when it could have been someone else in that particular slot, right? So now you have all these teams that you played against that you beat 2-0 that they could have played against someone else, and it makes the whole tournament even more Mickey Mouse than it already was, because there was a whole slew of other different things that were wrong with this tournament that I'm not going to go into, but holy shit, Riot, please hire a different company. So yeah, it's just very frustrating to see like Double Lift and these guys who like I like all of these. Well, TF Blade's a bit of a stretch, but I like these guys. Like I like
Jensen's
watching them.
was also on this team briefly. Knox, don't forget.
Yes, the main starting team, Sandy, the main starting team.
Oh yes, I apologize.
Oh my.
Okay, for the record, I don't actually hate Jensen. I just have never liked his playstyle. But anyway, point being is, it really sucks that these guys took away a spot from someone else, and now it's basically going to be this awkward thing of like Riot having to figure out, okay, how do we give this slot to someone else without like ruining the competitive integrity of this tournament and making it like this whole Mickey Mouse thing that it already is, and not making it worse than it already was. So it's really frustrating because like I like these guys, I like watching them, and I really wanted to see them play in the NACL. I understand that maybe they can't play in the NACL, but then why did you sign up for the event in the first place then?
No, I think that's a good rundown. And obviously there's been problems with the tournament in general. There are, to me, like still some positives. Like the very fact that the number 22 seed Apex Mission Impossible like fought its way through the bracket. And like there's a couple guys on this team that have like been around in the like there were, a couple of these guys were on like Mirage Alliance back in the day, right? So like they've been associated with the kind of tier 2, tier 3 scene before. But like it's really cool to see like this is kind of the original like promised dream of like, hey, get a group of 5 together and you can qualify to NACL and then LCS, LTA, whatever, right? And like so it's cool to see a team like Apex, Mission Impossible. I'm not gonna say Mission Impossible. Apex, qualify to NACL, and then we'll get to see how they do against like established tier 2 talent. And if they do really well there, then great. Maybe we just found like the next generation of LTA stars, and we wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for this tournament. And like now the lower bracket is going to be super fascinating because you've got like 2 juggernauts in the losers bracket next weekend in Respawn and Citadel. Respawn having Lawrence, Chad and Shochi on there. Citadel having Philip, Armio, Bradley, Instinct, and Trevor. Like, those are some established tier 2 names. And they're going to knock each other out, right? There's this other team, Daug fans, I guess is how you say it, right? It's just like, again, it's like 5 random dudes who are highly ranked on the challenger ladder, I guess. One of them has maybe played a couple of them have played collegiate together. But, and then there's a lot of other teams that have gotten kind of knocked out. UC Irvine, I think, got knocked out, which I think was a bit surprising for some people. But, like, the teams that are still standing here at the end, besides near airport, I think are pretty surprising for a lot of folks. Like, there were several teams I was looking at, like YBN1 to be like really good. That was Lunacia, NXI, Triple, and Meech were on that team. I thought that team was going to go really far. They did not. Yeah, and so it's like super interesting to see where some of this goes. Curly, like, what were your thoughts on kind of the double lift? Him getting in and then going, wait a second, I don't have time for this,
I mean, I was kind of sketch on the team from the get-go. Like, I thought it was a funny pet project for one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, all right, they all just decided to dust this off out of nowhere. Why? Why did you do this? And then now we get here, and it's like, all right, now again, why did you do this? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of other ways you could compete casually as a team like that. Hell, your streamers just get a Twitch Rivals going against some LCS retirees. People would watch it. I promise you. Just cause, get Dyrus back in on it. I'm sure people will watch it. All that. Because you're right, it is taking opportunity away from potentially younger or new or fresh talent. Like it's a funny meme until you get to the results of it, and it's like, oh. And I think it's kind of like, maybe they saw what's going on with Los Ratones over in the NCL, and they're like, oh yeah, you know what? A bunch of people who are well known but not competing at the top of the game, we should put that together. Because that would be fun. But they didn't think about the fact that that is a legitimate, fully functioning team that has a long-term intent.
Right. Yeah, very much it's the consequences of my own actions.
Yes, exactly. So it's a bit disappointing.
This would happen.
Yeah, I hope whatever the fallout is, I hope it like does right by potential new players.
Yeah,
and I think admittedly this might be a bit cross-bearing or whatever, but I feel like no matter what pans out, like if they do have to drop their slot, they kind of owe it somehow to make this up to the growing players. Like, all right, you took away their opportunities in some degree. What are you going to do to make it now worth it for them, or to help at least grow the scene? Or are you just going to pull this publicity stunt, say, we won, we're out, and shy away? I'd find that a little bit shameful, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's like kind of put up or shut up now. I agree with that.
So what you do is you recruit new players one by one and switch out your roster, and then have everyone lane coach them. Ooh. That would actually be disgusting. Oh my god!
And then
that would be crazy.
You could easily market that content like that. That sells
like that. Yeah, no. All right. Someone get this to double lift. It's going to save him from a PR nightmare. Take all of your players, replace them one by one, transition them to positional coaches. You are literally going to hand grow the next generation of talent if you do that.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. I presume if they were to say we're not doing this, we're dropping, their slot would probably just get awarded to whoever loses in losers finals, right? So but we've also seen Riot be willing to just be like, we've invited this team to come in,
Who has money right now?
Nobody.
No, nobody has money.
Speaking of which,
Money.
that's a great segue to the other news from NACL over the weekend. Pulse, a team that was one of the invitees to NACL, uh, their investors pulled the funding. And so now those players are, I guess, released. There's no like word on like really like what the next steps are, if they're gonna, if Riot's gonna be like, yep, those 5 players can keep playing, just like under their own team name, which is, in my opinion, just to show my cards, exactly what I think they should do. Is just like extend an invite to those players to say, hey, we recognize that your org pulled the rug out from under you, but come on in, play the season anyway. But otherwise, if that happens, or if Riot says like no, where's that slot going? I mean, Noxy, you got any insights here? Any special insights you can share?
So my understanding of what I've heard talking to people behind the scenes is Polestar is maintaining the slot no matter what, because they've already signed like contracts with Riot saying, hey, we are part of the NACL and so on and so forth. They're not leaving. They are going to basically have. They're basically going to have to re-sign anyone that they want to re-sign for probably much cheaper than what they were promising.
Okay.
And or maybe nothing at all. I don't know, because the thing is, NACL is not based out of California anymore. It is now an online-only thing, so there's no longer like a California minimum wage that's expected to be paid. I actually don't know the exact details on what like contractual requirements are for payment to NACL players. So maybe like they end up just like finding a couple people to, hey, here's a 20 count McNuggets, go off for the season, right? So yeah, I pretty much everyone that was on this roster, I would not expect to be on this roster again, because they're all looking to get paid, and so they'll probably just take the time off. And B, that just sucks because it was actually a fairly good roster.
Yeah.
And in case people weren't aware, this was the roster that was going to be partnered with FlyQuest. Like Blue Otter is currently partnered with Team Liquid. This was going to be Polestar X, not like in title, but like this was going to be Polestar X FlyQuest. They had basically like coaching access from Nuke Duck and Mithy and whoever else was coaching for FlyQuest at the time. They had access to facilities if they ever needed to come down to LA, like if they qualified for playoffs or anything. They were going to play out of the LTA studio. They had all sorts of different other coaching resources. So, but as my understanding is, it's now completely called off. Like Fly completely is like cutting the cord on the deal, saying, well, no, like we were going to help you out because you took on some of the players that we recommended to you, like Keetong. I don't know how to say it. Quitong. Cheetong, yeah. He was on this roster. There was a couple other players that like Empire had been scouting and kind of taking an eye at, as well as Papa Smithy and Andrew Barton. They all had eyeballs on a couple of these players, so they were very invested in this roster and like wanting to actually help it flourish and maybe also possibly in the future like take from it. As far as I'm aware, that's no longer a thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Polestar just field some randoms from this NACLO queue, and most people are going to be like, who the hell are these people? And like the real know-hows will know who they are, and they'll probably tell you that they're just going to get rolled.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate because it just kind of like ruins the integrity of the league, you know? Like just
Yeah. Well, yeah, and again, I want to emphasize Polestar knew way in advance that they had their funding pulled and did not tell the players. Like before the OQ drafts were done and teams were done filling out for the OQ, like Polestar knew that they didn't have funding and they did not tell the players. They did not come out and tell the players until after all the teams had been locked for the OQ and they could no longer find teams to compete. So they are now just SOL and are not competing for this first split of NACL, and they cannot even try and get in via the NACL OQs. They just got completely screwed over by Polestar.
Yeah,
that's insane.
That's rough. Curly, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think NACL orgs need to shape up, because it's like every year there's another one that's done something shitty or like just especially the money thing. And I know it's probably hard to get funding. And so it's realistically like if you're fielding this org, you need to make sure if you're getting funding from someone else, you're making those reliable connections. And the biggest flaw of any organization over the last few years in any level of League of Legends is this communication thing. It's like the fact that we're finding out last minute, and then you go back to everything with Yike and G2 and how he played all the worlds knowing he wasn't going to come back, and et cetera, and all this stuff. It's like at every level of the game, the people in charge need to like just be real with the people that they are getting to play for them at some point. And it's like if you, I get it's probably awkward, like to plan out, like, oh shit, how are we going to tell them that we can't play anymore? You tell them right up. You bite the bullet, you suck it down. You say, hey, we can't do this. All right, go seek other opportunities. There's no plausible reason that I can imagine that you would sit this whole time to just do that. To just say, all right, by the way, you're screwed. There's just nothing. What do you get from it? What were you doing that prevented you from being able to put this out there really quickly? And hell, you don't even have to put it out there. It's like, if there's something in jeopardy, you need to be like, hey guys, this is in jeopardy. There's this weird thing that I don't get why the people in charge don't want to tell the people at the front lines. It makes no sense to me.
Shout out to Respawn to Esports, who has been very clear about trying to run a properly managed organization and make their way into the NACL via the NACL OQs. I think he's probably one of the better owners in the scene currently, and he's been very popular on Twitter. And I think a lot of people should try to give him some eyeballs. Go check him out a little bit. I've been very pleased with what he's been doing so far. Obviously, still very infant in terms of like organization creation and running, but he's getting there.
Yeah, he had a great 5-minute little rant on Twitter as well about the double lift situation that I appreciated today.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you want his opinion on it, I would go. Let me get his Twitter for people. For people, excuse me.
See, it's shit like this that made me wish I had the money to just make my own org. I swear to God.
It is extremely expensive, by the way. Like even for like, I guess it's
I
technically
imagine
ACL, but like even the OQs are like a couple grand.
It is doc_respawn, and all you gamers out there should know how to spell respawn. If you don't, it's a shame. Or
I've seen it once or twice.
Respawned GG is the account on Twitter as well for the team. All right, just a final couple. Final note. We'll move on from NACL, unless you guys have any further notes on that.
Nope.
Cool. Well, so FlyQuest Red did wind up qualifying for the through the first closed qualifier for the Swiss stage, which I didn't realize there was going to be a Swiss stage, but that's going to be a very long form Swiss stage, which I actually kind of like, in that there's going to be more like a longer set of matches for people to watch, like more regular, like weekly kind of games. So that's starting April 14th. But then they also, obviously, finally have a team that has been announced. And it is indeed Thea, Aluvali, EVV, Bob, and Lace, with Joe as the coach. Yeah, obviously Lace and Thea are familiar names, and we also saw Bob and a couple of the other folks on the team in one of the kind of off-season, I think in the kickoff tournament as well. We'll hope for the best from them. Hope that Shopify Rebellion Gold is too distracted by being in the Challengers League that they won't be able to do anything. Although I think actually that team is done in Challengers League. They got
they got relegated, right?
They didn't get. Oh, actually, you're right. They did. They
got relegated.
They went 0-4. Oh, That's rough. They took 1 map out of 9. Ooh, that's tough. Sorry to hear that. Man, not great. Uh, oh yeah, if you're interested, TSM is actually still active, and in the Valorant Challengers League. Crazy, I know. You wouldn't think it.
Oh, huh.
I think that's basically all we've got for tonight, unless you guys have any final topics. Otherwise, we'll close out the show.
No, I think I would like to issue one correction. I was spreading misinformation earlier when I said the last time that EU's first seed took a game, series or game off of NA's first seed was 2019. That is not true. I completely blanked on some matches, but the last time it actually happened was 2022 Mad Lions and Cloud9 at MSI. So it's still been over like 3 years, but yeah, not 2019.
It's been a hot second.
We don't fact check here. It's okay.
Curly, any corrections that you'd like to issue?
No corrections, just additions of the other big thing with Fly Red is that that Sakura jersey that they released for Women's Day. Like, oh my gosh, it looks beautiful. The pastel pink, perfect, especially with that jacquard fabric. Oh my gosh, I need to decide if I can buy it on Friday when I get paid. If not, I'm going to make sure that the next paycheck can take care of it. Because, damn, it just looks so good, man.
It does. It really does. There goes another $80, right?
That's what I'm saying. Another $80 plus shipping and handling to FlyQuest.
Yeah, 100%.
My gosh, at this rate, I'm just gonna hand over my bank information to Carly, and then be like, all right, whenever you finish designing something, just take it out, whatever.
Crazy. All right.
Yeah, right.
Thank you for everyone tuning into this episode of Flight Check. Thank you for bearing through my failed attempts to mute before I cough. First Stand continues all week long. 4 a.m., baby. Love it. It's great for North America, isn't it? I mean, you can keep up with us on Twitter for all our thoughts and reactions to First Stand. The show at Flight Check Crew, myself at SantosDB, Nox at NoxWar with 2 R's, and Curly at Curly_QQ_. You got to hop into the Flight Check Discord as well. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise taking place, plus those sweet, sweet behind-the-scenes photos. And if you missed any part of the episode, the VOD will be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning. If you're watching that and want to catch a show live, we broadcast the episode every Monday night, pretty much, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. Curly, final notes, shoutouts, or plugs before we wrap up.
Shoutouts and plugs is number one. Shout out to my friend who gave me a haircut this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
The unthinkable occurred, and they did amazingly. I'm very appreciative of it.
Wait, so you doubted your friend's ability to do a good job?
No. The unthinkable is me saying, cut my hair. That's the unthinkable. I had full faith.
You thought no.
I had full faith in my friend, which is why I even let it happen.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, no, it was quite the process. It took I want to say 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. Because they took their time with it. They didn't just go clip. All right, you're done. They styled it too, because I know hair is very important to me. If that was never apparent. But number two, shout out to the Overwatch collab with Le Seraphim dropping in the next week. Saw the new skins today. Definitely going to be getting that Diva skin because I'm back on that Overwatch grind. I think everyone should play it again. It's pretty fun. It's like the original game, all over again. They brought back perks and everything, and they didn't get rid of loot boxes for a couple of weeks. They actually just had them, and they're very, very earnable.
There you go. Brilliant. Nox, how about you? Shout out to plugs. What you got?
I don't really have much, I'm going to be honest. I will say I will not be here next week. I will be going on various business trips over the next couple of days, and I will be in Phoenix at the time of our normal scheduled podcasting. So, unfortunately, y'all will not see me for the next 2 weeks.
Just
That
give me an
is
i9
loud.
processor and everything will be fine.
I will let you know as soon as I get one myself.
Brilliant. All right, my shout out is going to be to my wife for bearing with me through my illness the last few days. And being kind
Good
of
job,
generous.
Kat.
And she's
Yeah.
getting me a lemonade right now. Which, do I need a lemonade?
Nice.
Probably not.
You've got a lot of bears with you right now,
Yeah.
Sandy.
Bears?
That
Yeah, you got the
helps.
show bearing with you.
Oh,
You got your wife bearing with you.
Yeah.
I guess it does help alleviate the fact that she's not a fan of everything everywhere all at once.
Yes, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Unfortunately.
It doesn't make me forgive her, but it lightens the load.
Yeah. That's fair enough. All right. Well, that's about all we got for tonight. So we'll be back. I guess just me and Curly maybe next week to discuss First Stand. We'll see if we do it or not, depending on how we're feeling. So for now, stay safe out there and bite your teeth. Don't forget to hit the head on the nail, and we'll see you all very, very soon. Adios, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace, y'all.
Yeah. Unknown brain. Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies.